There are stories born in silence, and others born in laughter that echoes through stone streets. The Decameron belongs to the second kind. It takes us back to medieval Italy, not the Italy of grand kings and polished legends, but of narrow alleys, market stalls, church bells, and whispered bargains. Life here is close to the ground. Hands are rough. Faces are sun-worn. Faith stands tall in towers of stone, yet temptation walks freely beneath them. Directed by Pier Paolo Pasolini, the film draws from the 14th century tales of Giovanni Boccaccio. But these are not stories wrapped in velvet. They are alive, earthy, mischievous, filled with desire that refuses to hide. The film moves from tale to tale without ceremony. A young man falls into foolish devotion. A clever woman outwits those who try to control her. A priest succumbs to weakness. A dreamer searches for meaning in paint and color. Fortune turns quickly. Wit is more powerful than status. And laughter often defeats authority. There is sensuality here, yes, open and unashamed. But it is not presented as spectacle. It is woven into daily life, as natural as bread on a table. The sacred and the profane exist side by side. Churches rise toward heaven, yet human weakness lingers within their walls. Pasolini does not judge these characters harshly. He observes them, curious about how desire shapes behavior, how innocence and corruption coexist. The world of the Decameron feels crowded with humanity. No single hero guides us. Instead, we wander from one life to another, as if listening to stories told by travelers sheltering from plague and uncertainty. These tales were born during a time of death and fear, yet they pulse with vitality. Perhaps that is their quiet rebellion, to laugh, to love, to hunger, even when the world feels fragile. Visually, the film is rough and luminous at once. Sunlight touches stone walls. Faces are unpolished, chosen for character rather than glamour. Pasolini himself appears within the film, not as a distant director, but as a participant, reminding us that storytelling is not separate from living. The Decameron is not a lesson. It is a collection of human impulses, foolish, tender, greedy, hopeful. And as each story fades into the next, one thought lingers. Across centuries, across cultures, the heart has not changed very much. In the Decameron, there is no single hero guiding the way. The film moves like a wandering storyteller, pausing in one village, then another, listening to lives as they unfold. Each character is less a centerpiece and more a fragment of a larger human mosaic, flawed, impulsive, searching. One of the most memorable presences is Cappelletto, played by Franco Chitti. Cappelletto is a petty criminal, vulgar and unrepentant in life. Yet in a moment of desperate illness, he performs a false confession so convincing that he is mistaken for a saint. His character functions as satire, exposing how easily appearances can replace truth. Chitti brings a raw, almost animal honesty to the role. There is no polish in him, only instinct. Through Cappelletto, the film questions religious authority without preaching against it. Another central thread follows Andreuccio of Perugia, portrayed by Ninetto Davoli. Young, naive, and easily tempted, Andreuccio travels to Naples to buy horses, and instead finds himself deceived, robbed, and humiliated. His journey is comic but revealing. Davoli's wide-eyed innocence gives the character a childlike vulnerability. He represents youth confronted by the cunning of the world, not destroyed by it, but reshaped. In one of the film's quieter yet significant appearances, director Pier Paolo Pasolini steps into the frame himself as a painter, a disciple of Giotto working on a grand fresco. This figure serves as more than cameo. He reflects the artist within the world he portrays, observing humanity and attempting to capture its beauty and imperfection in color. Through this role, Pasolini suggests that storytelling and painting share the same impulse, to preserve fleeting human truth. Various women move through the stories, clever wives, determined lovers, and quick-witted young women who often outsmart the men around them. They are not silent figures. Though shaped by medieval constraints, they exhibit agency through intelligence and adaptability. Many of these roles were played by non-professional actors, chosen for their natural presence rather than theatrical training. Their authenticity adds texture to the film's rustic world. Priests and monks appear frequently, some devout, others corrupt, many human in their weakness. They are neither glorified nor condemned outright. Instead, they serve as reminders that faith and frailty often exist in the same body. Because the film unfolds as an anthology, the characters do not remain long. They enter, reveal themselves through action, and then vanish as another tale begins. Yet each leaves behind a trace, a moment of laughter, deception, longing, or revelation. In the Decameron, characters are not monuments. They are passing lives observed with curiosity, and together they form a portrait of humanity that feels both ancient and startlingly familiar. The film unfolds not as a single continuous tale, but as a chain of stories drawn from the 14th century collection by Giovanni Boccaccio. There is no single hero guiding us from beginning to end. Instead, we move through medieval towns and countryside, witnessing human nature in its many disguises: foolish, clever, devout, lustful, hopeful. The first story centers on Sciapoletto, a crude and dishonest man traveling on business. He falls gravely ill while staying with two anxious hosts who fear scandal if he dies in their care. Knowing his life has been filled with lies and corruption, Sciapoletto delivers an astonishingly false confession to a priest. Presenting himself as a man of extreme virtue, the priest, convinced of his holiness, praises him after death, and the townspeople begin to venerate Sciapoletto as a saint. The tale closes with quiet irony, a sinner transformed into a symbol of purity through performance alone. From there, the film shifts to other lives. A young man named Andreuccio travels to Naples to purchase horses, but quickly falls victim to deception. Tricked by a woman who pretends to be his sister, robbed and thrown into humiliation, he stumbles through the city's darker corners. By chance and misfortune, he becomes entangled in a grave-robbing scheme. Though naive, Andreuccio survives through persistence and luck, emerging poorer in coin, but richer in experience. His journey is comic, yet edged with danger, a lesson in how swiftly innocence can be tested. Other episodes follow lovers separated by circumstance, wives outwitting jealous husbands, and clerics surrendering to temptation. In one tale, a young woman hides her lover from discovery, turning potential scandal into clever escape. In another, desire crosses social boundaries, revealing how little rank matters when confronted with longing. Between these stories appears a painter, played by director Pier Paolo Pasolini himself, working on a grand fresco inspired by the vitality of ordinary people. He watches faces in the marketplace, studies gestures, and seeks to capture life as it truly is: imperfect, humorous, sacred, and profane at once. His presence binds the stories together. He is the observer within the world, turning fleeting acts into lasting images. As the episodes unfold, no grand resolution ties them neatly together. There is no moral sermon delivered at the end. Instead, the film concludes with the painter contemplating his finished fresco. He looks upon what he has created, a tapestry of humanity in all its contradiction. Then he quietly wonders why one should complete a work when it is so beautiful merely to dream it. And that is how the Decameron ends. Not with triumph or tragedy, but with reflection. The stories linger like echoes in a stone courtyard. Laughter fades, church bells ring in the distance. Life continues, unchanged and endlessly human. When the Decameron arrived in cinemas, it quickly became a subject of debate and controversy. The film's frank depiction of sexuality and bodily expression challenged the moral expectations of many audiences in the early 1970s. Unlike traditional costume dramas that framed medieval life with restraint and romantic idealization, Pasolini's vision was earthy and unfiltered. Nudity and sensual situations were shown openly, not as spectacle but as part of human existence. For conservative critics and religious organizations, this approach crossed boundaries of taste and propriety. They argued that the film reduced sacred or historical material to sexual provocation, stripping the stories of moral seriousness. Censorship responses varied by country. In some regions, theatrical releases were delayed or restricted, and certain scenes were cut before distribution. Rating boards imposed age limitations, reflecting concerns about explicit content and audience sensitivity. While the film was not universally banned, its circulation often faced limitations. Public discussion centered on whether artistic freedom justified the portrayal of sexuality in such direct terms. Supporters defended Pasolini's work as a return to authenticity, an attempt to show medieval life as visceral and imperfect rather than sanitized. Opponents viewed it as transgressive and unnecessary. The controversy also intersected with Pasolini's broader reputation. He was already known for challenging social norms and questioning institutional authority in his cinema and writings. For some viewers, the Decameron confirmed their perception of him as a provocateur. For others, it demonstrated a commitment to exploring human truth without concession. The debate was not solely about nudity or sexual content, but about the role of cinema itself. Should film reflect life in all its complexity, or should it preserve boundaries of decorum? Internationally, reactions differed. European art house audiences often embraced the film's aesthetic boldness, interpreting it as a continuation of humanistic storytelling rooted in historical tradition. In more conservative markets, discomfort remained strong. The tension between appreciation and rejection illustrated a broader cultural shift of the 1970s, when filmmakers pushed against censorship and audiences grappled with changing standards of representation. Over time, the immediate controversy softened. Academic and critical perspectives began to examine the film within the context of Pasolini's artistic goals. Scholars discussed its exploration of desire, class, and storytelling as reflections of human nature rather than moral instruction. The film came to be seen as part of a historical movement in European cinema that questioned conventional boundaries. Yet the debates it sparked remain significant. The Decameron serves as a case study in how art interacts with society's values. It reminds us that cinema can provoke discomfort because it touches subjects we prefer to keep hidden. Whether one praises or critiques Pasolini's choices, the conversation itself reveals the power of storytelling to challenge assumptions. The controversies surrounding the film did not erase its legacy. Instead, they became part of its history, evidence that art which dares to explore human complexity often invites disagreement. And in that disagreement, societies continue to examine their own boundaries and beliefs. When the Decameron was released, it became more than a medieval anthology. It represented a turning point in European art cinema and in discussions about how history and desire could be portrayed on screen. Directed by Pier Paolo Pasolini, the film rejected polished historical spectacle in favor of raw humanity. Medieval settings were shown as places of bodily existence and social improvisation rather than distant myth. This approach influenced later filmmakers who sought authenticity over romantic idealization. Pasolini's willingness to depict sexuality and human vulnerability without moral instruction also contributed to broader debates about censorship and artistic freedom in the 1970s. The film arrived during a period when cinema worldwide was expanding its boundaries. Audiences and regulators were negotiating new standards of representation. The Decameron became part of that negotiation. Whether praised or criticized, it forced viewers to confront questions about what should be shown and why. Can art depict intimacy without exploitation? Should historical narratives reflect the physical realities of life? These discussions extended beyond the film itself and into cultural conversation about media and morality. In terms of cinematic technique, the film's use of non-professional actors and naturalistic settings added texture and immediacy. Faces were chosen for character rather than glamour. Locations felt lived in. This style inspired later movements that valued authenticity, from European independent cinema to documentaries and hybrid narrative forms. Pasolini demonstrated that historical storytelling could feel present and human rather than distant and decorative. Culturally, the Decameron also reinforced interest in medieval literature and folklore. By adapting tales from Giovanni Boccaccio, the film reminded audiences that ancient stories still speak to modern concerns: desire, deception, survival, and community. It suggested that human nature remains consistent across centuries, even as societies change. The legacy of the film is complex. Some remember it for its controversy, others for its artistic boldness. Scholars continue to analyze its treatment of class, sexuality, and narrative structure. For Pasolini's body of work, it represents a moment of creative freedom before his later films adopted darker tones. It stands as part of a trilogy that sought to celebrate human vitality, imperfect and earthly rather than heroic. Today, the Decameron occupies a significant place in the history of European cinema. It is studied as an example of art that challenges norms and invites reflection. Whether one agrees with its methods or not, its influence endures. It reminds us that cinema can be more than entertainment. It can be a conversation with history, society, and the human condition. And so we return to the courtyard where the stories began. Laughter echoes briefly and then fades. The marketplace grows quiet. The tales of lovers, tricksters, and dreamers dissolve into memory. The Decameron does not offer simple lessons. It offers observation of human impulses in their many forms: desire, wit, faith, weakness, the things that bind us across time. Pasolini believed that art should look at life without disguise, not to judge but to see, not to instruct but to understand. The film embodies that belief. It shows medieval humanity as physical and emotional, neither sanctified nor condemned. A world where people laugh, err, and search for meaning. Controversy accompanied the film, yet controversy often accompanies works that challenge assumptions. Over decades, opinions may shift, but the questions remain. How should stories depict the human body? How much truth can cinema reveal? Where does representation become exploitation? These are not questions with permanent answers. They are conversations. Legacy, then, is not only about influence, it is about dialogue. The Decameron continues to exist within that dialogue, studied, debated, appreciated, and critiqued. A piece of art from its time that still speaks to ours. If you wish, we can explore another film where history and human desire intersect, or move to a different cinematic era entirely. The stories continue.